So thank you so much for joining this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. My name is Jandira Neto. I'm a testing analyst here at Search Pilots, where we're proving the value of SEO testing. And today I'll be going through 10 plus SEO testing ideas for the health and wellness sector. And I'll be using Holland Barrett and GNC as a benchmark. So a couple of things before we get into the webinar. If you haven't already, you can sign yourself up to our mailing list. We write case studies on our website. We write case studies every 2 weeks, and we have great examples on there. This week's case study is written by myself, so you're more than welcome to sign up using that QR code there or using the bit.ly link. And we have a large amount of topics on there, from tag tests to internal linking and full funnel sort of thing. So there should be something for everybody there if you're interested. So go ahead and sign up. And then I wanted to do a quick company profile because I'm aware some people might be familiar with Holland Barrett, some people might be familiar with GNC. So I just wanted to give a quick background knowledge. So Holland Barrett, established back in the 1800s, is a world-leading health and wellness brand. And from the UK, they specialize in the vitamins, minerals, herbal supplements, as well as beauty, sports nutrition, and weight management. They've got a large network of stores all over the UK and their online platform as well, which gives them easy access. And their main aim is empowering individuals to take control of their health by providing high quality natural products. Then GNC, similar sort of brand. They stand for General Nutrition Centers. They offer vitamin and minerals as well. And they are a trusted brand because of their quality and their innovation. And they emphasize providing education, product knowledge to help their customers make reliable information, to make informed choices. So very similar brands, one's just based in the UK, one's based in the US, and they're both health and wellness brands. So I hope that gives you some information for that one. So the itinerary for today, so we'll be going through how we do SEO testing here at Search Pilot. Then we'll be going through how I come up with the ideas. We'll be going through the ideas with Holland Barrett and GNC. Then hopefully we'll have some time for questions at the end. Perfect. So let's start with how we do SEO testing. If you're not familiar with Search Pilots, we do A/B testing for SEO. But a lot of people do ask, why do we need Search Pilot? Why would I need a platform like them? Can I not just do before and after testing? Can I not make a change and then have a look at my Google Analytics and then I can make that decision? Let's do that. So we have this page here. We make a change at this point. Then we see our traffic falls below in the past few weeks. So you think to yourself, my traffic's fallen, the change had a negative impact, so surely I should roll this back, right? No big deal. However, doing before and after testing does not take into account any sort of algorithm updates or any other external factors. So what if I told you there was a Google update here at this point? Do you know if it's because of the change you saw your traffic drop or if it was because of the algorithm? You wouldn't know because you don't have that sort of accurate testing. And then what if I told you this was during Thanksgiving? So it's not taking into account seasonal spikes. It's not taking into account any other external factors. So you can't really extrapolate accurate data when you're doing before and after testing. So cool. Some people might ask, why don't I do just rank tracking? Why can't I have a look after I'd make a change in my ranking? If I've improved my ranking, then surely that's right. And then let me look at my clicks on Google Search Console. So surely it's made a change, so that's fine. Again, not as accurate as we'd like it to be. So here we have an example with Holland Barrett. As you can see, they have over 400,000 keywords ranking for them. And there must be more, but we just can't track all of them. So yes, you might have made a change and improved your ranking, but it just hasn't been tracked on here. So it's not a great way to do sensitive tracking for SEO site changes. And then with Google Search data, it's quite similar. Ahrefs also did a study where they saw almost half of your clicks of a site that site gets hidden in Google Search data. So I wouldn't say scrap these third-party tools. I say they'll give you a good direction and a good gist, but they're not as accurate as A and B testing. So how do you do it? If we can't do that, if we can't do this, how do we do it? So I will break down with you how we do A/B testing here with Search Pilots. In the simplest form, it is quite complex strategy we use. However, I'll break it down for you today. So firstly, we look at a group of pages we want to test on. So we'll find a group of pages with a similar template. This example, we're looking at vitamins and supplements. So you've got your vitamins, your minerals, your herbal remedies, etc. They all have different products, but it's the same sort of template. So we would like to test on these today. So with search pilot testing, we want to test on sites that have tens to hundreds of thousands of pages of the same template. The more pages we have, the more robust it will be. And then we will also like our pages to have about 1,000 sessions a day, therefore 30,000 sessions a month. We have tested on smaller site sections and smaller amount of traffic, but we're looking more at that larger amount to make sure it's more robust when we're testing. So you've decided your site section, you're happy, this is where you want to go. So then we'll create a hypotheses of what we'd like to test. We normally like hypotheses that are backed up by things such as industry knowledge, information Google has explicitly announced, or things such as case studies, like the ones on our website that you can subscribe to. And once you've got your hypotheses, you can choose how that, you will then decide how that impacts your traffic. So the example we have here, we're hypothesizing if we move our content higher on the page, it will increase the importance of that text, because we know that Google prioritizes or gives different levels of importance to different parts of the page. So we can give that a go. We're going to test that out. That's our hypotheses. Following that, we'll do the search pilot platform to create some test buckets. We will break that out into control and break that out into variant. The variant is the one that will have that change on there, and our control will have no change on those pages. So you can do that randomly, but you won't get the optimum results because you'll have pages with high amounts of traffic and trend spikes. For example, at the moment, ashwagandha has gone absolutely crazy and is selling out absolutely everywhere, and that will not behave the same way as a normal product on the page. So the search pilot platform, it looks at historical data, about 100 days of data, and looks at those traffic patterns of the pages and uses that to create its buckets to make sure the pages are statistically similar to one another. So they'll be impacted similarly, any fluctuations, they will move the same sort of way, and they'll have a similar amount of traffic to one another. So using the platform and the algorithm, we'll split out our buckets. So once you've done that, you can use the search pilot platform to make these changes onto your page. As I mentioned previously, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of pages. So in this example, let's imagine we've got 300 control and 300 variant, and the ones on the right are the variant. And we could use the platform then to make that change and create the new template, just like this. Once you're happy, we'll go through QA, quality analysis, and then we'll launch. So then you'll have something like this in your test dashboard using the search pilot platform, where you'll see the way your test is performing. So the gray line there that we're seeing is the test start date. So anything before that is the historical data we were mentioning. And we use that to build a model of how the test would have looked had no change ever had been made, the forecasted variant traffic, which is the dotted line there. Then you would compare that to the actual traffic. So what it's actually looking like after we've made that change. So the first few days, as you can see, will be a little bit slow because Google needs to crawl. Google needs to understand you've made that change. And then later you'll see the fruits of your labor and the impact of the change. And as you can see in this example, our actual is actually outperforming the forecast. Therefore, this is a positive test example. This is a positive result for us. And you can make that decision whether you would like to deploy it on your website or obviously think with your team and present this. But this is an amazing example of how it's so easy to make it work with us with Search Pilot. But you might still have the question, isn't this the same as Optimising, the A/B testing, user A/B testing platform? Are you not doing the same thing? And the short answer to that is ultimately no. Because we're splitting pages, we're not splitting users. So the main difference here is the way that we bucket. So let's have a look at the user testing methodology on the left-hand side. So we've got two versions of each page. So imagine you've got ashwagandha, you've got A and B, you've got peppermint tablets, you've got A and B. So there's two different versions of each page. So you'll have, for example, 50 people go to the old, 50 people go to the new. And then you will then compare which set of users converted better. And that's how you would make your decision. And that's not how it works with Search Pilot, because we are testing for Googlebot. And there's only one Googlebot. And we can't show Googlebot different things because this can be classified as cloaking. So with SEO testing, there's only one version of each page. So you'll have, for example, ashwagandha will be an A with no change. Peppermint tablets will be B with a change on it. So every user will see the same version of each page. You will never be tagged A and B and go through a different journey. you'll always see the same page. So that way we can make a decision if the Bs perform better than the As, but we're not cloaking and we're not changing every single page there. That's the main difference that differentiates us from other platforms, because we're a server-side tool, meaning that searchers like Google, we want them to see the changes that we make. That's essential. That's crucial when you're doing SEO testing. We do obviously offer user testing as well, CRO testing, and we do full funnel testing, which is a mixture of the both. If you want more information about full funnel, there's a link there for you if you would like to go have a look. But we're the only tool that allows us to test this sort of way. So it's all great in theory, but I would love to show you a demo of how this works on our site. So let's have a quick look. So here is an example used for Brighton SEO. A few years ago, we're using eBay as a dummy site. They're not one of our clients. So what we're doing here, we want to change our title tag. So as you see, the title tag right now just reads iPhone cable chargers in the name of the product. So using the Search Pilot platform, we're going to replace the title. We want to dynamically pull the price of the item into the title tag. So give it a refresh here. And then we can see now it's changed to Dear Brighton SEO. This product is $245. So you see we've dynamically pulled the price into the title tag, which is really, really cool. It's an amazing feature that we have. And you see it's updating the source code too. So you don't need to worry about going on every single one of your pages and making sure you're updating if your prices fluctuate, updating that if your prices change. This will always dynamically pull whatever is in that element. So then once you're happy with that, you will push that into being a split test, into that split test section right here. And then we can have a look on our test dashboard and we'll see, similar to the example I showed you, how it will look for the duration of the test. So the platform is amazing. It gives you recommendations as things go on, and you can see your actual and forecast. Like I mentioned previously, we can see here our actual is actually outperforming our forecast in that sort of test example, and the platform is telling us to deploy it. And then the estimated additional sessions is a part that our clients really, really love, our customers, sorry, really, really love. So as you can see, it is a positive change. So you'll see how much additional sessions you will win by doing that sort of thing. And then our customers also absolutely love URLs crawling as well. It's a good way of seeing how much Google has seen of your test. And that way you can make a decision whether to roll it back. And it gives you some estimated days of how long it takes to be crawled. So this is a demo of how it works, and it's super, super cool. And our customers absolutely love it. So let's have a look at now how we do these ideas. So I'm going to break down how I would come up with ideas, or how anybody here at Search Pilot will come up with some test ideas for our customers. Firstly, we'll come up with the 3 main areas of SEO: crawling, indexing, and ranking. So we'll consolidate the first 2 as can you rank? Do you have anything blocking Google from crawling your page? Do you have anything blocking Google from indexing your page? Can you even rank for what you want to, because you've prevented yourself from getting there? Then you will look at ranking as should you rank? Is your content good enough to even rank for the search terms you want? Are there gaps in your content? Are you missing out on industry standards? Once you have a think about this, this will start the process of ideation. Following that, we can visually compare our templates. So have a look at your product pages, have a look at your category pages, have a look at your store pages, etc. And remember to have a look on mobile as well. And you compare that to a competitor. So I'm comparing Holland Barrett and GNC here. And then you can benchmark that with actually another competitor altogether to see if there's something both of you are missing. So that helps you generate ideas. Is there anything that I'm doing that everybody else is not, or am I missing out? So once you've visually compared it, it's always very important to think to yourself, am I seeing things as Googlebot? Because there might be things that are client-side rendered that your competitors are only showing Googlebot. So it's very important to use a structured data tool, such as the rich results test that I'm using in this example, because that way you're now Googlebot and you can search for elements as such and see if there's anything that you're sort of missing there. So perfect. So we've done the visual check. We've thought about how we rank, if we should rank, and then we've looked as Googlebot. Now for this niche, I thought it was very, very important to make sure that you're up to date with Google's updates and advice. So I had a look at this update, the helpful content update, which was introduced back in August last year, which its main focus is enhancing the user experience by providing helpful content. So they're really saying that the algorithm sends a signal to better ensure people see original, helpful content written by people for people in the search results. So its aim is to provide you quality and relevance for their users, make it easier to find that useful content. And then Danny Sullivan himself did say that the algorithm prioritizes high quality and authoritative content that meets the needs of their users. So the update emphasizes authoritative sources, making sure you're providing trustworthy and credible information that's favored by the algorithm. So the main intention of it all is to reduce the amount of low quality content that we're seeing in the SERPs and helping users have an improved search experience. So following this update, we saw an absolute surge in SEOs creating more content that focuses on people as opposed to writing content for search engines. And with the health and wellness sector, I find that's very important to make sure your content is authoritative, your content is aligned with your brand, and making sure you're providing helpful content as you're directly impacting users with your content. And then another framework that I feel is very, very important for the health and wellness sector is EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, a framework that was introduced back in 2014. And that's how Google assesses the quality and credibility of your web content. So expertise, that refers to the knowledge demonstrated by the copywriters that are writing content for your site. So Google looks for the expertise in specific areas to make sure that you're providing reliable and accurate information. You're an expert at what you're writing about. And then authoritativeness, that's how they measure the reputation and authority of your site and the content source. So to establish this, you need to remember it's very, very crucial to have reliable and reputable sources. Make sure you have citations, make sure you're referencing the information that you're presenting on your sites, because that's going to help you build your credibility and your trust, not just with your users, but with search engines as well. And once you're recognized as an authority in your niche, you have a high likelihood of ranking in your SERPs. So it's super, super important to make sure that we are trying to become authorities in our niches. Then trustworthiness, essentially similar thing. It focuses on the reliability and the transparency of the content. So Google values when you're backing yourself with credible sources, when you're providing accurate information, and you're trustworthy to your users. So this framework is particularly relevant for our health and wellness sector because we are directly impacting users' well-being. It's a similar framework before the EAT framework came out, which was your money or your life that Google introduced. If you're impacting users' money or users' lives, you need to make sure that your content is accurate, is trustworthy, and is reliable. So if we're aligning ourselves with these principles, we should have a higher chance of ranking in the SERPs. And recently, Google did actually introduce another E for experience. So if you're demonstrating expertise, if you're establishing authoritativeness, and if you are prioritizing trustworthiness, you should improve your visibility online and you should be providing a great user experience. So we should have loads of ideas of this, of visually looking at our pages, of becoming Googlebot and making sure that we're aligning ourselves with what Google is showing. But now we need to prioritize. Which test idea should I do first? So in Search Pilot, we use a similar framework like this quadrant here, where we're prioritizing by effort and reward. So the best sort of tests you want to start with first are ones that have a strong hypotheses and are a cheap change. For example, adding schema to your page or optimizing your title tag. These are things that we know are good SEO anyways. And these are all tests that are backed up by case studies like the ones on our site, especially ones in similar industries. That will be a perfect way for you to start. However, if you're looking at something a bit more expensive, it takes a bit more effort, such as moving everything from server-side rendering to client-side rendering, you're going to have to make sure you have the data to convince your engineering team. So you'll be wanting to wait until your test is 95% confident. So that means if the test was run 100 times, there's a 95% chance it will still be positive. And that might take some time. You might take a couple of days and you would need a lot of data to back yourself up there. So that's the ones in the gray quadrant in the corner. So they do take a little bit longer. But once you have all your ideas encompassed, the Search Pilot team can help you prioritize, and then we can help you get those tests rolling. So it's super, super exciting. So we're now on the third part of our presentation today. So we're going to go through the test ideas. So I hope you're super, super excited for these and take some information from them. So we're going to start with product page tests. So these are the pages that have products on them. I know people call them different things, but we're going to call them product pages today. So first idea is a super simple idea. It's something that will be in that pink quadrant, which is adding prices to title tags or meta descriptions. So here we have two examples. We have the title tag and meta description for two pre-workouts. At the top, we have H&B with their title and their meta description. Bottom, we have GNC, which with their title and their meta description as well. Very similar products, very similar wording. But as we can see, we're missing the pricing here. And my reasoning, I feel that they're missing their pricing, is they want to remain competitive in their search results. But however, on review, I looked at a competitor and they had a similar SERP result such as this, where they're including the price. And I feel this is a great test that we can start with. You're breaking up the SERPs there, because normally when you look at SERPs, you're looking at loads of words and it's hard to pick out what you want to click on first. However, if you've got those numbers, humans have a numerical bias. We lean towards numbers, and you're breaking up and looking different and remaining competitive in the search results. Also, there's an option there that you can improve your keyword ranking for longer terms. For example, here I've searched the pre-workouts under £50. So Google can now better answer my query because it knows what's going on in this page. It's used the strongest part of the page to answer the question. So this is a really exciting idea that you can start off, and it's super, super simple. You can do what we did in that demo to give it a go. And we also have a case study where we test this too, and we saw a 12% increase on organic traffic, which is absolutely amazing. So this is a great thing you can start off with. I will have a caveat. I will say a caveat that if your brand is more luxury, you might still want to test this. We want to see how it can improve. You never know how things can go. This is why we test things. However, with the numerical bias, you might look a little bit crazy in the SERPs versus your competitors if your products are way above the normal market standard. But still a great way to test, a great thing to start with, and it's super exciting. Now, the next idea, I wanted to tell you this idea with a little bit of a cautionary tale before we break into it, because it just shows the importance of making sure your content is accurate, is reliable, and is checked. So this is Kiko. This is my neighbor's cat. I love her to bits. I'm her cat auntie, and she is a very curious cat. So one day we were eating avocado toast, and as nosy as she is, she came over and she wanted some. So we Googled, is it safe for cats to eat avocado? So we Googled something similar to this, can cats eat avocado? And the page won a rich result, something similar to this, and it showed avocados are safe to cats to eat. So cool, we gave her some, she enjoyed it, etc. However, I wanted to click into the page. I wanted more information anyway, so I wanted to see what else cats were allergic to. And to my surprise, this is what was shown on the page. What it read was avocados are safe for cats to eat, but it's strongly not recommended due to persin, a toxin which can cause serious health problems, even death in many animals. So this could have been super, super extremely dangerous. Very luckily, Kiko is okay. She's having fun. She's sticking her tongue out here. But not everything was being pulled from that site into the featured snippet. So I thought to myself, is this potentially happening in the health or wellness sector? Are things being pulled from where they shouldn't be? And is this potentially dangerous, much like in Kiko's situation? So I had a quick look at GNC. I had a search for something along these lines. How many times can you take the tablets? And I had a result such as this. As we can see here, it's giving me a best answer and giving me the information I want to, and even highlighting only take it one time a day. Then I clicked into the site and I found out that this is actually being pulled from the customer forum. So this is not regulated. This is not checked for inaccuracies. This is user-generated content that is leaving the site and can potentially be very dangerous because we don't know if that's the right answer. This is not written by a professional. This is not written by GNC. So that obviously brings me back to EAT. You want to be an authority and you want to be providing accurate information on your site. So if inaccurate information is leaving your site, this is potentially dangerous to your users and damages your trust too. And GNC themselves did say that they prioritize providing good information for their users to make informed decisions. And this is an example of the opposite. So a good test we can try to do is add a no snippet, which basically is a bot exclusion protocol, fancy word for a function, that tells Google to not pull a bit of content under any circumstances. So this can go around images and go around text, and I would wrap this around the customer forum. So that way, Google will absolutely not make sure this will not leave the site, and this will force Google to show the accurate information that's written by copywriters, and we're preventing inaccuracies leaving our site. By doing this, Google should recognize and reward the page and the site for making a conscious effort of providing helpful content, and that way hopefully we'll improve in our rankings as the EAT suggested. So this is a great way to test and see if EAT does have any impact on your page at all. And this is a great way to make sure you remain an authority in your niche, and you're making sure that everything that you've written leaves the page. Anything that's customer written or user generated remains on the page. So I hope that idea was something you can wrap your head around and you can understand how important it can be. However, if you have, for example, a customer forum, or if you have a Q&A box on your site, which is full of UGC and it's kind of a community in there, you don't maybe want to absolutely remove it on your page. So we can test adding Q&A markup to those products on those pages. For a lot of retailers, they actually only do the basic. They don't really do Q&A markup. As you can see from the sample, they're doing product snippets, etc., but not Q&A markup. So this is a good schema test that we can start with. So like I mentioned, it's a nice alternative. If your site has a lot of UGC, you don't want to move it all together, and you can win a feature snippet, such as the example on the bottom here. And that way, you know that Google will now know that this is written by users, this is not written by professionals, and therefore, if there's any inaccuracies, we will know that it's not your site that created it. So hopefully you'll be rewarded there by having that schema, and you can potentially win a featured snippet. So it's a good test to do alternatively. Cool. So we've gone through those. We're going to go through now product listing pages. So those are pages that have all the products on them. We call them PLPs, you might call them different things, but that's what I'm going to go through today. Cool. First one, we will go through Holland Barrett. So when I was looking visually at the Holland Barrett site, I noticed a little bit of text that's hidden in this show more box you can see here. It's hidden right under all the products on the page. So as an SEO, I noticed and I sort of knew that this is written more for search engines than users, because why wouldn't you want them to see it? So we can test bringing that out of the collapsible section and seeing if it has an impact on the page. And we can optimize potential. Someone spent time writing this. We want to optimize its potential. So we did do a case study with a similar thing. We removed SEO text from the collapsible section, and we saw a 12% uplift in organic traffic. So this is a great way to optimize the potential of your SEO text and give it a go. However, if it's negative or inconclusive, there are other ways we can optimize it, such as moving your SEO text above the fold. So here on the Holland Barrett website, as we can see, it was hidden in the corner, down in the bottom, underneath the fold, underneath the products and a show more. With GNC though, their SEO text is right below the first header. And we know that Google prioritizes things based on structure in the page. So let's test moving it up. Let's test if moving it above the fold places more importance on the item. So Google can now interpret that this is more relevant. Google can now interpret this is more valuable. And hopefully that leads to improvement in your ranking in search engines and search results, sorry. So we believe moving this over is a great way to optimize your SEO text. Again, if it's inclusive or negative, let's try removing it altogether. So as I was reviewing Holland Barrett's SEO text, there are a few internal links on there. So I gave them a click. And as you can see, it ends up going to a page that's out of stock. It ends up going to a page that's not available. And that's not a great user experience there. We're pogo sticking back, which is a phenomenon of users clicking on a page, it's not answering my query, so I go back. These negative signals are being sent to Google, and Google now knows that this page isn't answering the user's query. So you need to think with yourself, with your content, is it helpful? Is it useful? Is it fresh? Or am I wasting my crawl budget to pages that don't even exist? So we can try removing this SEO text altogether. And if we see a positive result, then we know that it was damaging your sites. And if we see the opposite, then we can think about potentially rewriting your SEO text to be more customer forward and more user forward, or retiring it altogether. So these three tests are sort of a 3-in-1. You can start with any one of them, but it's a great way to see and optimize your SEO text on your site. Cool. Next idea. we're looking at adding product count to the title tag. So this is a similar sort of rationale as adding the price and the PDPs we spoke about before. But using the search pilot platform, we can dynamically pull the amounts of products on a page and pop that into your title tag so it displays in the SERPs. With users, they'll be able to see that this page has a certain amount of products, and they're likely to spend a longer time on there because they know it's going to answer your query. So testing this, we should be able to see an increase in your organic traffic there, because now you're answering your user's query much better. But conversely, another caveat, if you have quite a smaller range, we can still test this and see if users want more of a niche brand, but you want to keep in mind that versus your competitors, if you have, for example, 10 products available in your title tag, users might look the other direction. But that's why we test. We never know how it's going to behave. We never know how Googlebot will behave with our site. But by testing this, we can get something like at the bottom, I've got there an example. Lovely. So that's a good idea as well. The next idea, let's go on a journey. I want to break this down by putting yourself in the seat of a user. So we want to buy pre-workout for the first time. So what do? We go on Google, we search pre-workouts, nice pre-workouts, tasty pre-workouts, we search pre-workouts, and we land on the Holland Barrett page. You found your item. Awesome. Also, you're a vegan. So you tick that facet on the left there to make sure you find what you need. So we've ticked that now, it's giving me my products, and I go about my day. But you're also an SEO. So you think to yourself, how many times has this sort of search happened before? And as you click your facet, you notice that a parameter is added to the page. So something's changing here, something's different. So let's have a look. We do a deep dive and we find out that once the facets are ticked, those pages are not being indexed, meaning Google cannot put that in its archive. You might think to yourself, why is this the reason? The SEOs must have had a rationale behind them. Do they want to save sort of crawl budget? But I feel we're missing out on authority here. We're missing out on clicks because I managed to do that journey. Who else is doing that journey? So we can test replacing that no index tag on the facet pages with a canonical to the parent PLP. So by replacing that, we're consolidating the authority from all of those facets that end up being no index and bringing that to the parent PLP. So hopefully we'll improve the organic rankings and improve the traffic because we're adding traffic to that parent page. So with the search pilot platform, we'll be measuring the impact of the parent PLP there. So if the parent PLP has an increase in traffic there, then we know that we were missing out on loads of authority and loads of clicks and loads of traffic from our facets by no indexing them. Obviously, it can go the other way, but this is why we test. And I feel like indexing all of your facets, you're missing out on authority and you're missing out on traffic that could be helpful for your parent PLP and helpful for your page. So this is a great way to test it. This is quite a more complex sort of test, but someone from the PS team or somebody from Search Pilot team can guide you through and help you build a test like this. So this is something super, super interesting that I would love to see happen. Awesome. So those were the product listing pages. We're now going to have a look at the store locator pages. Normally with store locator pages, they have a lower amount of traffic because users click on there, they find the address and they go, they find the number and they go. But I feel there's ways that you can optimize and improve your organic traffic on your store locator pages. So again, had a look at Holland Barrett and I had a look at their meta description. Their meta description just reads the name of the store or the location of the store and store information. Not much there. You can have so many characters within a meta description, and this seems like it's a bit lackluster and it's a bit neglected. So as opposed to reinventing the whole wheel and getting copywriters to come up with the new ideas for your meta description, how about let's remove it altogether? Because we know Google rewrites meta descriptions anyways. So let's see what Google rewrites in your meta description. What does Google pull from your page and what does Google think is important? And then you can see what gives you more clicks depending on what's in the meta description versus what you wrote. So this is a great sort of test that builds more tests on it. So we can have a look and see what Google's put in there. And if it's improved your traffic, how about let's test that properly? Let me write that into my meta description. Let's run another test. So this can actually create many tests off the back of it. And it's super, super simple and super easy. And it's something that not a lot of people think about. Next test idea, Similar on the Holland Barrett website, I had a look at their title tag, and it doesn't even mention the name of the store. All it has is store finder. So if you were to use the internal search engine they have to look for stores, the title tag never changes throughout that whole journey. So again, I feel like it's a little bit neglected, and there's opportunities here to optimize. And we know that optimizing your title tag anyway is good SEO practice. So how about let's add the name to the title. Let's add the store name, because we want to make our user first content. We know that users are doing quick searches on their phone. I want to know where the nearest store is to me. I want to make sure that when I look at search results, the answer is there. So put the name of the store in the title using the Search Pilot platform by dynamically pulling it from on page onto the title tag. That way users can recognize the brand and click much quicker versus your competitors. Super easy test and very interesting in the results that it can provide you. So this is another way. This is another similar one to the meta description one, which will be in the pink quadrant. Quite a good hypothesis, but an easy change. And finally, to round it off, again, something easy but should have a high impact. When having a look at GNC, I was looking at long-term searches to see what they rank for. So here you can see that I did a search for click and collect in Washington, click and collect vitamins in Washington. And as you can see there, GNC ranked for it organically right at the top because of the on-page content they've got there. As you can see, they've got that little box there that reads in-store pickup. So Google knows that this is going to answer my query. Google knows that this is what is available to the users. So it's going to answer my long-term searches. Holland & Barrett, however, don't do that. And there is scope for them to add that by adding offering services. So here's a wireframe that I designed. This is something that you can sort of follow on your own site. And as you can see here, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not changing the entire design of the site. The site remains ultimately the same. I am literally just adding a little bit of text on site with offered services. So I've added expert advice. Of course, it's expert advice. There's staff on site. I've added click and collect, and I've added in-store promotions. Now I should be able to rank for those longer long tail search keywords. And we have had a case study with a similar sort of thing happening. We saw 8% increase, which is absolutely amazing. So when we're adding these relevant on-page content to the page, Google then understands the page more. It helps me target for new keywords that people are searching and provides me useful information for my users. That's going to benefit your ranking. That's going to benefit your clicks. And therefore, that's going to benefit your traffic. So we always think about ways we can optimize our store locator pages. And perfect. We reached the end of the presentation. Many, many thanks for everyone who has joined. If you can use this link here, you can subscribe to the mailing list. Like I said before, I wrote this week's case study, so I'd love for you to give that a read. Also, we have 2 more webinars coming up with similar sort of things. We're looking through SEO test ideas. We've got one with Ruth Everett, which is going through bookstores such as Waterstones and Barnes and Noble. That's coming out in September. Then we've got Rita as well, who is doing beauty cosmetic retailers, and she's going through Sephora and Ulta, and that's in October. So many, many thanks for listening, and we do have some time for questions. So I'm just going to open my question box and have a look at any questions. So someone's asking in regards to no snippet, would that affect organic traffic? Everything would affect organic traffic. Any change would affect organic traffic. But I think you mean sort of, will it decrease my organic traffic because I'm removing stuff off the page? This is why we test. We don't know which direction it will go. With the way EAT and with the way Google has given us information about helpful content, it suggests that if we were to do this, we'll be rewarded, we'll be recognized, and we will be boosted up in the SERP. So that's why we test things with Search Pilot. But that's a very good question. Many thanks for asking. See if there's any more questions. We have, is it still worth testing low traffic pages with a vegan protein powder? So I think we're talking about the replacing the no index there. So I think the reason they no indexed all of their facet pages is because it doesn't have enough organic traffic, but it did have traffic. I clicked on it. how many other people have clicked on it. So I feel that if we consolidate that with the parent PLP, we're improving your clicks, you're improving your organic traffic there. So surely you don't want to be missing out on authority, especially in a niche such as this. You don't want to be missing out on these sort of things. Just having a look at any other questions I have. Okay, we haven't got any more questions coming up, but if you do have any other questions or anything that you're typing at the moment, you can see my email is on here. So you're more than welcome to shoot me an email with any questions or shoot me an email with any queries that you have or, in general. But other than that, this will be recorded. It's currently being recorded and will be sent to you in about a week's time, so you can refer back to it. But thank you very much for joining today. I appreciate absolutely all of you that have joined today. And hope you have a good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. So many thanks. See you later.